Welcome to Chainlink Labs DeFi Conversations on YouTube. My name is Andy Boyan from Chainlink Labs, and I'm talking to Brandon Burgason from Mobie. Brandon, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Andy. Glad to be here. Big fan of Chainlink.
Awesome, me too. I'm excited to talk to you. I used to work in the fintech industry as well, and so I'm really excited to kind of connect this to payments and the wider ecosystem. And I think we've actually got a lot to talk about in terms of the connections between those two. So really excited and wanted to get into all of that over the next few minutes here. Tell us about Mobie. How does it work? What makes it special? What kind of sets it apart as a project in the crypto space?
Yeah, no, we started building Mobie a little over 3 years ago and really kind of set out for focusing on mainstream adoption. I saw the writing on the wall 4 years ago over when I started learning about crypto and blockchain. And I figured the biggest problem to solve was make it used for everyday purchases and easy to use. So that's kind of our core focus for Mobie and Mobie Labs. We're building mainstream products with blockchain technology, really around payments and rewards. So user adoption is a key component for us. So we're focused on that. And essentially we put everything into one platform. So really kind of centralized, decentralized, custodial, non-custodial, and then a bridge to pass back and forth, really to kind of get people understand more about crypto in the long term.
So I think the lowest hanging fruit to put it in your brain with a payments platform is Square or Stripe. And so Square is an example where the business has Square and they've got some unit where they can accept payments and they can do back end accounting, and then it settles with their bank and that sort of stuff. Is that where Mobie sits, or are you guys on the user side where I'm downloading an app, or both, or somewhere in between all that?
Great question. We're actually both. We want to build an all-inclusive system. So we have the front-end user through the application, similar to Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. You can use it as an USD bank account. We're a partner with some banking partners here in the US. We're expanding globally here very soon. So you can do all the same functionalities you can with those platforms. But you also, the big thing that we do on our mobile app is you can use cryptocurrency for everyday transactions, some of the biggest retailers. So we even have Chainlink now integrated, or Link integrated into our platform, and you can use at places like CVS. So that's great. We also, on the flip side, have a merchant platform for businesses so they can sign up for our business platform. And then we have the payment gateway in between. So really, as opposed to some of the other platforms that are really crypto only, we're fiat and crypto. So, mainstream and crypto users, grandmas, normal, small, medium-sized businesses all can utilize our platform with our front-end application on the mobile side, our web app for businesses, and the gateway in between to facilitate the transactions.
Cool. A lot of the Web3 natives, crypto folks who watch this stream, I don't know how deep they are in the fintech and payments ecosystem. And so something that was new to me a few years ago when I had joined is payments is its own industry. Like, it's a full stack industry, top to bottom, yes. Billions and hundreds of billions worth in company values and whatnot, just in terms of, how do businesses accept payments? How do customers enact and transact and send and verify payments? Who does that processing in between, and where does all the money go, right? If you do a card transaction, that money gets split up into 1,000 different buckets. Everybody gets a percentage of a penny and all that. So that's a really complex ecosystem. Crypto comes in, right? Bitcoin is first this peer-to-peer payment mechanism. I don't know if it's going to work like that, maybe, where there's all these different payment options. How does crypto fit into this wider payments industry and ecosystem?
Well, it streamlines it a lot easier, and it really kind of takes all the middlemen out, right? And that's the biggest thing is when we started building this, it was we need a more simple way to transact. We need to be instant, and we need to eliminate all the middlemen, right? So when you're talking about card processing, I mean, it's a huge business, but it's also archaic. And, you have issuing banks and all these intermediaries. You have Visa and MasterCard. So there's a lot of restrictions with that. And what we did is we just built our own gateway, which we have instant payments. And that's really why we built initially on Stellar, is because we wanted to settle transactions fast in both cash and crypto. And we want to do it in a way where people can get their money and they don't have chargebacks. And that's really kind of the key with crypto, is you don't have a lot of the chargeback fraud. It's a massive it's a massive thing that's plaguing not only the US but everyone globally. And so how we built the system really streamlines the process for everyone, especially for the merchants. And at the end of the day, we reduce the processing fees dramatically. Typically, we're around 1% for cash and crypto that we'll be launching, and that's about 70% less than the current card processors, which are, you said, $100 billion companies that handle payments. So we believe we're in a great space moving forward. But for the cash and crypto, like I said, there's BitPay is just crypto only. Stripe is just kind of cash and card, or just cards. We're both in between.
So I'm going to back up and cover some of the terms that you mentioned. So there's one here. It's processing fee. When you go to a merchant and you swipe your card to buy packed gum, the merchant has to pay however much it is, some percent of that transaction, or some minimum transaction for that. And you'll go to some like bodegas or whatever, and you'll see like minimum transaction $8, because they're not making any money unless it's over the counter, because they got to pay for that. Or so a lot of that cost goes to the merchant. Now the merchant's hands are tied because they have to have Visa or MasterCard, or else, right, they have such wide adoption. And so that's sort of that processing fee there, is like how the merchant deals with that.
Yeah, and it's typically around 3%. Stripe's around 2.95, but there's also a percentage, and there's also a fixed fee as well. Just depending on, there's so much. It's a very complicated system, and so we're trying to simplify that, and I think that we have.
Now, the other thing you said is chargebacks. This is something that merchants really have to do with, not just in terms of now they're losing a sale, the charge is going back, and so they're losing the sale, but they've also got to do the accounting on this, and they got to manage it, and like just doing the books on stuff on returns is a hassle. And at scale, you could do it because you can hire specific accountants that manage this sort of thing. But small businesses and like one-person shops, it's really hard for them to manage that chargebacks. Can you talk a little bit about that industry and that problem? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a $50 billion+ a year problem. I think that was when we first wrote the white paper. It's significant. It's a lot of fraud. So people know that they can just buy stuff and then they can just charge it back. And and merchants are required by a lot of these processing providers to keep their chargebacks under 1%, which can be tough. And let's be honest, the merchants, charging, is being charged 3%. But the reason that they're charging 3% is because of bad actors. Really, it's probably like a 1% charge, but they have to build in all these extra percentage to cover the losses moving forward to be a profitable business. And that's really kind of where the inherent problem is, because Visa and MasterCard require it in order to use it. They have reps and warrants, and basically they're in their contract saying that this is how this works. So it's a problem, and that's what I love about crypto, is because it eliminates a lot of that, and it gets passed on to the end user, right? These things happen, so they inflate their prices, they inflate their fees, and all that's kind of built in. So we believe by reducing the processing fees, because there is no middleman. Number one, we can get a lot more businesses to adopt our platform. But also, we believe that'll be passed on to the consumer moving forward.
I mean, that's a huge, if you think something's free, it's not free, right? You're paying for it in some way. You look at grocery, like grocery is this super well-known, thinnest margins in the world. Like they make very little profit because they can't. They got to stay competitive. Food's got to stay fresh. Like it's a really expensive business to be in. And so if you can reduce fraud, if you can reduce chargebacks on something, it's a really a great value proposition. And grocery will listen, a lot of other industries as well. But that's just one highlighted as an example. We're talking to you because you've integrated Chainlink, you're using Chainlink. Talk about how are you using Chainlink besides the link token there, but on the technical side, how are you using Chainlink and Mobie?
Really, the initial and primary use case for us is the market and data feeds. We have a payments, application, a wallet. So we want to make sure our price data is top notch, and Chainlink is by far the industry leader there. So we utilize it all across all of our different platforms. We have multiple different products in our ecosystem. We've been in building mode. We're getting ready for launch mode right now. So the data feeds and the market feeds will be used in not only our wallet, but our bridge, our swap, and everything else in between. So really that's the core feature. We're also going to be utilizing the Chainlink into our bridge protocol that we're building as well. So interoperability and for different blockchains and stuff is going to be a key component for our Web3 side of Mobie Labs. So yeah, we plan on using Chainlink really in all of our products and services that we provide throughout the ecosystem.
Cool. The model you talked about how this works is, so I've got my Mobie account and I've got crypto on there, or money or dollars, whatever it is. And when I go to make a payment, I can choose I want to use Bitcoin for this payment. Then on the back end, are you guys selling the Bitcoin, converting it into dollars, and then depositing, or what's the, like, how does that work? Because that conversion, that's where you're going to use Chainlink, right? What's the price of Bitcoin? Yep. Okay, make sure you get the right price so that it's worth this dollar amount. But what is that? What do the steps look like there? Is it a conversion on your end and then it goes through a bank, or like who's involved?
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly what we do. So the user will walk up to the store. They're like, great, I want to use US dollars, whatever, Bitcoin or Link, right? And they choose it. They'll actually accept the price, which will be obviously coming from you guys. And then we settle in US dollars in the background. And that's why these our retail relationships that we have, no one really wants to accept cryptocurrency. I mean, a lot of people will now with Bitcoin, but it wasn't the case when we started building 3 years ago, right? So we're like, well, how do we fix this problem? Well, we have a built-in exchange and app so that settles in US dollars into our merchants' USD Mobie bank account. So realistically, we have a setting in the platform. If you want to just receive US dollars only, we convert it automatically for you for the merchant. So they don't have to worry about it. So the front end user will determine what currency they want to use.
Why don't retailers want to just accept crypto natively? Like, what are some of the barriers there?
The barrier, well, the unknown. A lot of retailers live in fear, and these are major corporations that have boards and risk tolerances and things like that. But it comes down to the volatility. They don't want to, as he said, these are companies that depend on their books to report to Wall Street, and they're looking at their bottom line. And if they get, payment for an asset, let's say in Bitcoin, and all of a sudden it tanks, they're not really in a position to hold because they're not mandated to do so. So that's really kind of the barrier of entry. But we see that changing, with the more adoption. We see Tesla, we see other companies paying their employees in Bitcoin and stuff like that. So I think that we'll see that change. But for now, they don't really care how they get paid. They just want to be settled in US dollars because that's the gold standard supposedly. So that's,
I think about that back end, that accounting piece. If you're accepting crypto in 20 different cryptocurrencies, and at the end of the day, you got to balance your books on that. Like that's a nightmare. You got to hire a whole staff, and if you're actually scaling that out to multiple, like it's just not feasible. It's not feasible. That's going to be worth the hassle. Oh, and now you got to go into regulatory because nobody's doing that. And so instead, to convert it and accept in dollars and be that way. Now maybe a company wants to, on their finance side, get into Bitcoin or whatever they want to get into. That's a separate thing.
That's a separate thing for payments. Exactly. If it's a treasury thing, that's a totally different thing because they pay on the capital gains and whatnot. But for a payment protocol, it's like, hey, and that's really, for my opinion, the reason we built Mobie and Mobie coin and whatnot is really to facilitate payments. And we believe that that's what, crypto and Bitcoin was always intended to be used as a payment currency. Right now, it's more of an investable asset, but we believe that if you can make it cheap and settle fast, people use it as a currency. And that's really what we're out to do, to democratize it as much as possible and make it used for everyday transactions. That's our primary objective.
I'm very much a middle grounder where maybe full decentralization and using some super decentralized Dogecoin or whatever it happens to be as a currency is possible. But I don't know that we're there yet as a globally wide standard.
No, we're not.
And so we need some steps in the middle. And part of that is meeting people where they're at, letting people use banks. And like, look at centralized exchanges. That's what they do, is they let you use your bank and get in and get involved in that way. So you don't have to go fully DEX and decentralized right away. You can do those options. But having a lot of those steps in the way, that's kind of where I see, like, if people want to transact and use it as a currency, as money, Dogecoin or ETH or Bitcoin or whatever, people are welcome to do that. When you're engaging with these larger enterprises, you want to go buy curtains or whatever it happens to be, kind of got to meet stores where they are too, because they've got costs as well.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, I think that's where we give people options, right? Like, cool, you want a custodial or you want non-custodial? You want, centralized banking, or you want to go on chain, off chain? I mean, really, it's just you have to give people two options, and for us, that's been our core objective. And then you have to have a bridge to pass back and forth. Like, hey, cool, this is easy. Now I want to get into more decentralized stuff and activity. That's great, but if you're going to force people to go into one or another, they're going to just stick what they're used to, and that's where the barrier of mass adoption, I think, is the primary barrier is. So that's, for us, that's a key component.
One of the other major topics you brought up in your first explanation is it's also a rewards platform. I know rewards and loyalty points are a major part of fintech, and how that works. Can you talk a little bit about how that works in Mobie? How is it different from other rewards platforms, or how is it similar, maybe in the spirit of the things we just talked about? What are some of the similarities too?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, rewards is key, and in making it simple, rewards platform, American Express points, is people are used to points. And so for us, when we kind of started to imagine this, 3+ years ago, it was, okay, well, great. These are kind of what they call closed loop reward systems. So American Express points only works at American Express, places. So really, when we created Mobie Coin, is all right, it facilitates payments to the Stellar network, but it also, as a rewards currency that they can use to do different type of incentives. So we just launched Mobie Earn, which is our new kind of encompassing rewards ecosystem that has in-app staking, one-off rewards for action-based items. We have on-chain staking. We have all these different things to really kind of teach people, okay, how to use the platform, what is cryptocurrency, and also reward them for shopping, on the platform. So really, incentives is everything, but you have to be very, I would say, very intentional and understand the economics behind it, because, you have I would say, a universal rewards token that can be used. Like, okay, you're getting these points, or AKA tokens, and then you can have them spendable. Where are they spendable at? How much is the value of that? And so there's a lot of thought that goes into it. But our business model, our core business outside the crypto, is we reward people, giving them cash back on cash. So what we do is, like, for instance, someone is not a crypto enthusiast, they download the Mobie app, they link their bank account or their debit card, they go to CVS and they spend cash, right? Just like they do in Venmo. We actually give them 2% cash back on cash right now. So that's, people are getting cash back on cash. This is not cash back on a debit card or a credit card that they're paying 9%, an interest on. They're actually getting, someone's reaching back in the register, and we're giving out of our profitability, we're giving that as an incentive. So that's kind of the core differentiator between us and everyone else, is the user adoption strategy. And then, if they want to accept Mobie Coin or other assets, then there'll be a multiple of that cash back, and they'll be incentivized to hold and utilize it within the ecosystem. So it's a big component, because, we just live in this day and age where people want discounts, people want rewards. And so that was a key component of building a mass adoption platform, is a rewards component.
Awesome. Now every tech founder wants to answer this question with the answer everybody. Someone asked you about your users. So yes, everybody, of course. But as you start this rollout phase, you're really launching out. Who's that first core set of users? Where do you see it going? Like, who's going to be the most interested in these projects? And then on the business side, on the merchant side, who are these? Are they smaller businesses? Are they these larger retailers, like vehicle size? What's sort of your range on both ends of that spectrum?
Yeah, so our core user base out of the gate is like the millennial users, young, understands technology very well. I would say kind of gamers that really understand virtual currencies really well. So that's kind of our target demographic, is that area for on the user side. We have kind of a 10-year plan, 5-year plan, and how we get there. And the next one comes in as really the underbanked, as people have less access. So those rewards, those cashback rewards, will mean a lot to them, and they have easier access. So, and then we get to the unbanked later on down the line, people in developing countries that have access to a cell phone but no access to banks. That's kind of our long-term goal. But we want to start with the core business, which is around millennials. And then for the business side, really small, medium-sized businesses, we have a go-to-market strategy. Our first kind of target is direct sales companies, network marketing companies, other ones that we solve a big problem because the chargebacks are more high risk for merchants, which is huge, but they also bring users to our ecosystem, which is a big thing. So you can have a company that sells products, which they can sell in our app because we have an in-app marketplace. They can sell their products, they can transact without chargebacks and without issues, and they also can do their payouts to their people monthly. So that kind of all encompasses is a big win for us. And just small, medium-sized businesses, merchants, restaurants moving forward, they're all going to want. I mean, we did one at one event, and we got 250 merchants signed up on the event, just one talk, right? And it was because and it's a no-brainer for them. Like, wow, I can save money on my processing. I can actually accept Bitcoin. I can get access to marketing and in-app other in-app functionality. I go, this is a no-brainer, right? And we don't replace their current card processors. We just provide another gateway. So it's not like they're choosing one or another. We're just adding a service to them. So it's a win-win.
Oh, that's compelling. It's a great story. So I want to wrap this up. I can talk payments and fintech and stuff all day, and you can too. We'll have to get together and
yeah, I love that, man.
But what's next for Mobie? You said you were in build mode. Now you're in rollout mode. What does the year look like for you?
Yeah, so just last year we got our mobile app out on the App Store for both Android and Apple, which is something not easy to do. It took us a good amount of time to do. So we're still in beta testing. We're updating a lot of stuff on the mobile app side, and we're gearing up for a primary public launch in Q2 of this year. So we're just kind of in build mode right now, just kind of refinement, product market fit, making sure we have all the core functionality that we need to. Right now, our focus is international rollout. Right, we're just testing in some U.S. states right now, but we do plan on doing an international rollout. So in the next month or so. So that's kind of where our focus is now. Q2 is going to be a big one for us. That's where we're kind of going full steam ahead on marketing initiatives, onboarding users, merchants. We already have 350 plus large retailer partners that you can utilize our app at point of sale. Not all of them are rolled out in the app yet.
What regions are most of those retailers in?
Just in the U.S., but we will be expanding globally. But you're talking about some of the major brands: Landry's Restaurants, CVS, Ulta. We have some cool stuff on YouTube. We have some great guys in the community that go out to like DSW and use Bitcoin to buy shoes with our app, and it's cool. But so we see it, it's working, yeah, and that's the good part. Now it's just it's just kind of getting everything geared up to that final push, and we have one chance to do this right, and so we're extra cautious. We last year was a lot with compliance, audits, making sure that we're good to do what we're doing. And we're very excited about it. It's going to be this year is going to be a great year, and we're really excited about Q2.
Brandon, it's been awesome talking to you. Thanks for coming to chat with me. We're learning all about Mobie, and for the users out there, go check it out. Use the app. Give them some data points so they can do that final setup before their big launch. I will talk to you another time, man. Let's do a follow up. All right?
Yeah, we'll do.
Great, man. Nice talking to you.
Thanks, Andy.
Well, he's going to hang out here while I talk to you for a sec. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in Mobie, head down to the description. There's going to be links all down there to their social properties. Follow them on Twitter. Join their Telegrams and Discords and all those things. And download their app. Check it out. Go ahead and give it a shot. If you're interested in Chainlink and what Chainlink does, there's a bunch of links down there too. Join the Chainlink communities, join Discord to get many more developer resources. And you can follow @Chainlink on Twitter for all sorts of official updates and big news. You can also follow @smart_contract. That smart contract account is where we announce events like this. We do AMAs, Q&As, and all sorts of events that you can get notifications for and follow. You can also follow at Chainlink Labs. That's one of the company that I work for, helping build Chainlink. And so you can get updates there about job offerings and what's going on with the company in general. So please follow those things. And of course, like and subscribe so you can get more notifications directly about Q&A sessions like this. Thank you all for coming. If you've got questions, head over to the communities and ask them there. And we will talk to you guys next time. Appreciate you coming, Brandon. Talk to you later. Bye.